and we are joined by Sergei Erofeev, sociologist from Rutgers University. Thank you so much for joining us tonight.
Hello, Claudia. Hi, Sasha.
Good to see you, Sergei. So jumping into this, it's interesting and sort of disturbing about, if we look 24 years ago, Putin pledged, I think, very much on the same day when he was elected president to preserve and develop democracy. And I think it's very interesting where that has led to. What can we see as that shift now of another term for Putin? What's next for Russia's Putin?
Sasha, I would like to remind you and many commentators in the West that 24 years ago, even 25 years ago, there were many more suspicious people in Russia of Mr. Putin than in Poland, in America, anywhere in the West. So many people didn't believe his rhetoric of democracy. And it became very evident within weeks, months, or years, step by step, very incrementally, that he's there to implement what I now call, from my sociological perspective, mafia, capture of the state. So whatever Mr. Putin says should be understood through sociological prism of standard behavior of impression management. Whatever he says cannot be taken even with a grain of salt. No, nothing like grain of salt is applicable here, because it's all 360 degrees around is complete lies. This is the whole history of special operations from the very beginning. We know that Mr. Putin calls the war in Ukraine special military operation, but whatever he does in terms of electoral processes or presenting himself to the West or his own people can be and should be called special operations, one by one, whole chain or many chains of such operations. So the good news is that in the West, the illusions about Mr. Putin are slowly catching up with the destruction of the illusions among the Russians. And I would just repeat, still now, the greatest success of Mr. Putin in this war is not on the Ukrainian battlefield, and it's true. I really like the point of Justin, who was just interviewed by you. Great interview. So it's a great point about the spirit that matters, not the physical and military capability. And gradually, it's dawning on the West that Putin misses this main capability, the spirit. There is one thing I disagree with Justin, though. He says that it's because too many people in the West believe that it's Putin's war, that they are fooled by it, that it's really a Russia's war. That's where the error lies. That's exactly why they think it's Mr. Putin's Russian people's war. That's why they think that they should listen to Putin, because it's a Russian people's war, as Justin said, which is not true, or not entirely true. That's exactly the reason why the West is being very slow, dragging along, slow with responses, not proactive, but reactive. And what we are witnessing just now, yet another inauguration of Mr. Putin, is accompanied by slow progress, but it's still a progress. We should remind ourselves that many international agencies, like the European Parliament, for example, now deny legitimacy to Mr. Putin. And a few weeks ago, a few dozens of Nobel Prize laureates called on the leaders of the world to deny Mr. Putin's his legitimacy, like many Russian people do. Many in the West, those who are in exile, those who had to flee the country for political reasons, because of the political persecution. But so many people who cannot reach out to you, and their voices submerged today under the terror and fear, their thoughts are all with you, in the sense that Mr. Putin, whatever he does through ceremonial events like today.
But obviously, there seems to be an idea of having both sides of the society, so having the pro and the against side of the society. However, it seems to be the case that Vladimir Putin is doing a great job spreading propaganda, and he is actually having this idea of the new Russian Empire, including Ukraine, including Belarus. How likely do you think that scenario is? Because this is something that he's been selling to his people for a very long time, and for the most part, it seems to be quite successful so far.
You know, social analysis shows, Claudia, that Mr. Putin is selling the impression to the West that he's an imperialist. He wants he wants America, he wants Europe to think that he's all about great ideas, about imperial reconquistas. But the reality is very simple. It's a mafioso who is dying of fear to step down from power, because he's going to lose not only power, but life. That's his idea. That's why he initiated this war. The war is not about imperialist goals. There's no imperialist or colonial class in Russia, which existed in France or Germany or Britain or Spain, to benefit from colonial wars or to benefit from reconquistas and imperial wars. What he's doing is exactly to create this impression that he's a great and terrible master of the Russian nation, and the whole nation is supporting him, and that people in the West should believe that he's pursuing just imperial causes. This is another way to deceive everyone in the West. And still, he's been the most successful in this information war against Europe and America and the whole free world, and much less successful about persuading his own people in all these lies, and even less successful on his battlefield in Ukraine. So we should remember that this is primarily an information war, and Mr. Putin wants us to consider him as an equal. So there should be equal terms of communication between Western, what he calls partners. And he says that he would not go into any negotiations if they are conducted from a position of strength by the West. And that's exactly where his weaknesses are. It's exactly a position of strength which should be used by the West.
Indeed, I wanted to follow up on that with another one, but we'll have to conclude that another time. But indeed, I think very much, as you said, an interesting place and a very dangerous place for Russia in the world. And I think that whole dialogue has to continue, right?
Concealing weakness with a mirage of strength.
But nevertheless, we had Stalinism, now we have Putinism. And we're going to get more on that. Look, we'll have to conclude there. Sergei Erofeev, thank you so much for all that today. Appreciate it.